Object shows are all about the, well, objects. But what if an object didn't compete? I don't mean something like Yellowface, David, Dora, or even Black Hole. I mean a totally normal, average person. I'm here to answer this question. Could the average human win the battle for Dream Island? This video is inspired by some of John Covette's videos where he puts himself against video game challenges. I'm here to do the same but with BFDI and their weird and mostly unethical challenges. Anyways, I've talked enough and let's finally get into the details. Let's get started on what our average person will actually look like. The average height for a man is 5'5", and the average height for a woman is 5'1". For this case, I will assume the average human in this experiment is standing at a nice 5'3", or 160 centimeters. To get a basis for all the heights in BFDI, I will infer that David is the same height as the average human, so David is 5'3" in this scale, which is most likely far off. Using a very old height chart, we see that David is the exact same height as Bubble, and that fact can help us calculate different heights within the BFDI universe, since Bubble is a finalist.
Yo cake!
I've set a few guidelines and rules within this challenge to make it, well, more challenging. Recovery is impossible, as I want to see how far the average human, which we'll call, Alex, can get without dying. Humans in real life can't recover anyways, so it's consistent. If they do die, then the question of, could the average human win BFDI, is deemed impossible. Yet, if that does happen, I will still continue the video, just to see how many challenges they could complete. Another rule is that they can't get voted off, as that is impossible to calculate and wouldn't be fun. Also, if they got flunked to the TLC, that's instant death. There is no humans that can survive that. Yes, I know they switched to some laser magic later, but still, no eliminations. I'm also setting the bar for the completion of challenges. Alex has to be in first, or at least in the top majority to qualify a challenge as possible. Since eliminations and votes don't matter, Alex could realistically coast through the competition, not doing any challenges, since most aren't mandatory when there aren't any stakes. Alex will also only compete in challenges, so anything outside of the allotted challenge time will not count. So Needle's cake or the speaker boxes melting down contestants won't be counted. Now, it's time for the moment you all been waiting for, the actual challenges of BFDI, starting with BFDI 1A. The first half of the first challenge starts with the contestants falling from tubes in the sky. Since Bubble isn't available for the scene, we'll use Pin, since she is the second closest to David's height. Using Pin as a ruler, the fall looks to be around 13 feet 8 inches, or 416 centimeters, give or take a few units. Falling from the tube is nearly equivalent to jumping from a second-story building straight onto wood. As a first obstacle, this is already pretty dangerous, as Alex could already break their legs if they weren't prepared. For this situation, they would want to point their feet downwards and land on the front part of their feet, while bending their knees after landing to absorb the shock. After this step, the challenge can actually begin. Since the average human being most likely has more mobility than the average object, with spindly noodle limbs, Alex could easily win the contest. However, if Alex were to fail and then fall, they would fall around 32 feet, or 9.7 meters, straight into water. The Olympic diving tower is around 33 feet. If Alex can maneuver their body correctly and not just belly flop, they could survive the distance, since the ocean below the balance beam looks extremely deep. That's if they could actually swim. BFDI 1B. For the second half of the first challenge, Alex would have to build a boat and sail across the Goiki Canal, which is 500 miles or 805 kilometers in length. As long as Alex can get themselves on a boat, assuming it doesn't sink, they can easily win and survive the challenge. If they don't, they either have to swim across the canal, which is impossible since the farthest distance ever swam unassisted was 142 kilometers by Neil Agius. Even still, we are dealing with the most average person. There's no way they can even swim half of this. If Alex even managed to swim halfway across the canal, they would have to still deal with whatever this is. But regardless, this challenge is possible, as long as they don't sink, which is what everyone who uses a boat has to do, so nothing new there. BFDI 2. This is the challenge where it actually gets difficult. The second challenge is an obstacle course that has the time limit of an hour. The first section that Alex has to conquer is a thick balance beam with bends in it. It should be easy, but if they were to fall, it's most likely an instant death, unless they can slide down the wall or try to land on Spongy or Snowball. I couldn't tell you how far down this room is since we never get a full shot, only the room at the bottom, so I'm just assuming it's a non-survivable distance. The second obstacle is more tricky. As long as Alex is in the lead, they could easily pass it, but if they aren't, there's no way to vault over the wall after it gets high enough or until it gets broken later. The rock wall in the next part is no issue since there is just another path around it. However, if Alex were to get punched, they would most likely have a major injury or just death. The elevator thingy, I don't know what it is, down is easy as well, unless they fall off or getting bowling balls smashed on their head, which are most likely instant deaths again. The next challenge is to jump across this pit with the weird triangle hydraulic press thingy. slowly moving downwards. It has the same problem with the wall, since if Alex doesn't get there fast enough, it's impossible. Since Bubble is in this scene, and also a perfect circle, I used her as a measurement. The gap looks to be around 10 feet wide, and the average human can long jump around 8 feet, give or take, but that's assuming they don't have a ledge they can grab onto. If Alex can jump and manage to get a handhold, they can clear this part, albeit with a lot of struggling. Afterwards, they ride a ski lift, but they should be fine, as long as no one tries to sabotage them or Spongy tries to get on. If any of those two situations happen, that is an instant death. Once the ski lift is over, there's another winding trail that leads to a task where contestants have to find a needle in a haystack. Since Alex is a human, they can't burn the pile or redeem themselves as the needle, so they'll have to do what Teardrop did. However, if Alex comes after a contestant like Fiery or even Teardrop, they could potentially reuse the needle since the machine doesn't take it away after it's been scanned. The final leg of this long-winded challenge is to fill a tub with water using buckets. Pretty self-explanatory. So far, BFDI 2 has been the deadliest challenge in this competition, with 6 instant death locations. BFDI 3. The third challenge is the easiest so far. It's just a test, and as long as Alex knows the answer to, if you don't do want to eat, how long can you survive? Do you know? I don't think you do, so you shall fail. Haha. And do you like tennis balls? Even if they don't, I bet they can still ask around and get the answers. BFDI 4. The fourth challenge is also fairly easy, as all you have to do is bake a cake without any instructions. However, the average human doesn't know how to bake a cake without guidance. We'll assume Alex buys some cake off of Leafy. The only deadly part of this challenge is the giant human-sized oven. BFDI 5. The fifth challenge is to cross a bridge, which is instant death if you fall. However, no one actually manages to cross the bridge, so we'll call this challenge null and void. The tiebreaker challenge is to rip a tie, which is actually a pretty difficult task, and given that Snowball rips it in less than a second, Alex stands no chance. But this challenge is not going to end the run since it was a tiebreaker, and no one did anything in the actual challenge. BFDI 6. The sixth challenge is another challenge within a challenge, just like BFDI 2, but this time they get sorted with 2 other objects. Since I couldn't possibly assume who they would be paired up with, I'm just going to give them the edge and assume they'll be doing this solo. The first challenge is to cross a balance beam, but unlike BFDI 1A, this isn't nearly as high, probably 8 or 9 feet tall, which is a manageable distance if you fall into the water below. The average human does not know how to inherently swim, so if they can't swim, it is instant death. However, Alex should be a balance beam pro. They've done this around 3 times already. The challenge after this one includes around 30 safes. 5 safes have rafts and paddles, and the codes are written on the bottom. With how light the safes look, this should be no issue for Alex, albeit a little time consuming. However, there is a small issue. The concept of using a dial combination lock is not a universal skill that everyone knows. If Alex doesn't know how to unlock the lock, they might waste much more time as they either have to ask around or teach themselves how. The action of paddling across the river, canal, or ocean, whatever this is, will be the difficult part. The raft is clearly made for 2 people, and since Alex is only 1 person, they'll have to put in twice the effort. Afterwards, they'll have to stack blocks to get a key that is hung high in the sky. If Alex falls, they'll sustain major injury or death, as it looks to be just a concrete floor below. I have no idea how heavy the blocks are, but if Alex stacks them similar to how Coiny is stacking, then this should be no issue. The real issue comes with the raft. They'll have to either drag the raft across the island, still no clue how heavy this would be, or paddle around the island. It gets even more convoluted as the key that Alex could have grabbed could potentially be a fake key, as only half of the keys on that island actually work to unlock the door at the end. I don't know how to calculate this, as I couldn't say which key is the right key. However, for this video, we'll say they got extremely fortunate and managed to unlock the door on the first try. Once the announcer finishes speaking to Alex, they will then get launched into the air. I don't have a clue on how high they would be launched, but judging by the height of this room on the inside and the height on the room on the outside, we are dealing with a non-Euclidean building, and the force needed to launch someone out of a potentially infinite space is unknown. So, I'll just say by extremely fortunate luck, Alex manages to survive the launch, even though by the end of the video, Leafy, Pen, and Eraser are still flying through the air. BFDI 7. The 7th challenge is just a 9-piece puzzle. The average human could easily do this. BFDI 8. The 8th challenge is difficult to assume because it's just a lot of technicalities. The challenge is a race and each member has to carry the person behind them as they run the race. Alex could sit out of the challenge since they could have been one of the people not chosen to compete. Alex could also then get paired up with some objects like Bubble or Leafy, which are super light objects, or another object like Fiery or Rocky, contestants that would either kill them or be extremely heavy to carry. But let's assume that Alex gets extremely lucky and gets graced by Carrie and Michael themselves, and they don't have to compete, skipping out of this challenge completely. BFDI 9. The 9th challenge is a 6-legged race where the racers tie themselves together by their ankles. Since it would just be a normal race if Alex didn't get teamed up with anyone, let's just assume they will replace, Pen. Fortunately, Pen doesn't do much besides getting a mild headache. But it's also a plus for Alex, since if they were tied up, a human's proportions are much more different than an object's, making this challenge a nightmare for any of their teammates and Alex. Since Pen doesn't contribute much, Alex gets a technical free ride to victory. BFDI 10. The 10th contest is a crying contest. Whoever can cry in a minute's time wins. However, as long as Alex can cry a single drop, the challenge will be a tie again, since despite the squashy grapes having the most liquid, it was a tie, since everyone has some tears in their tanks. If you were wondering, the average human could cry around 1.2 microliters a minute. The best strategy would be rubbing your eyes, since that can stimulate tear production, or keeping your eyes open as long as possible. Since it was a tie, there needs to be a tiebreaker, so the next challenge is skiing. The announcer could only afford one pair of skis, but since Alex is one person, that's not a problem. However, only around 1% of the human population can ski successfully, so if you were to pick a random person, there is a very likely chance that they cannot ski at all, which is horrible news for Alex. But there is one strategy that Alex could use to complete this challenge. The hill doesn't look that steep, but again, just like the non-Euclidean building, this hill goes on for much longer than it should. Despite this, Alex could just take off their skis and walk down the hill. Sure, it won't be faster, but they could at least be identified once they reach the bottom. You might be thinking, it's against the rules, isn't it? It's a skiing contest, not a walking contest. You would be completely right, but how did Rocky get on the hill? And shouldn't the whole team be needed to finish this challenge? Rocky never got to the finish line, but their team still counted as finishing the challenge. So I'm assuming it's the skis that actually need to reach the finish line. As long as Alex can trudge down the mountain carrying the skis on their back and make it before the last team does, they'll be fine. Since the hill can be any size and they aren't that consistent with it, I'll say Alex has to walk down this length instead of walking down however high this hill actually was. There is another tiebreaker after this, but since Alex did get to the finish line, albeit stretching the rules and space-time, they don't need to do it. But if you're really hung up on this detail, you can just assume it's like BFDI 5, where no one actually won the challenge, so Alex technically didn't lose nor win. BFDI 11. The 11th challenge starts with contestants walking upstairs for around 384 hours straight. The average human, let alone any creature on this earth, cannot feasibly do this task ever in their lifetime. This is completely impossible. But assuming that the objects do not get tired or need to eat, which is proven false.
Come on, Match. Come swim with us.
I can't. I have no energy left.
For the viability of this challenge, we will assume Alex does the same. They have infinite energy and can walk up a flight of stairs for 384 hours. That still doesn't let us know how high up it is. Using a constant motion of the objects, which is around 2 steps a second, that is 120 steps a minute, which is 7,200 steps an hour. This means the objects managed to walk up 2,764,800 stair steps in total, which is insanely close to the BFDI number of 2,763, only around 1,800 off. Anyways, using bubble and segmenting their body into roughly 5 parts, the steps look to be around 13 inches tall, just about a foot if I round down, which I won't be doing. The average stair step is nearly half of this, being 7 or 7.5 inches in height. Regardless, 13 inches times 2,764,800 steps comes out to be just about 567.27 miles. The objects, once they reach the top, should be much past most of Earth's atmosphere. They should be in Earth's exosphere. At this level, they should see low-orbit communication satellites. There should not be any breathable oxygen a normal average human can possibly inhale. I apologize, but even after giving Alex infinite stamina, there is no possible way I can skirt around this fact. However, even after reaching this point, there is still blue sky and even clouds. They are much behind the stratosphere, and maybe Alex could breathe, and I could chalk this up to a non-Euclidean stairway, but that feels cheap. Even if Alex won the competition, they would still have to get down, since there is no tricks or easy ways. Alex will die if they fall, if they hadn't fallen off the stairway before this, since it has no handrails. The challenge ends here, at BFDI 11. It is just not feasible. But, I am still continuing this video. Let's see how many challenges Alex could complete. So far, we're at 10 out of 11. BFDI 12. The 12th challenge is to climb up to a platform using one of the 3 ladders connected to it. This challenge might give an advantage to Alex since they have longer limbs and actually know how to climb ladders. I know that the announcer throws water balloons on the contestants, but unless Alex were to have such a weak grip or be so light they'd fall off when getting hit by a water balloon, I doubt it'd do anything. BFDI 13. The 13th challenge is a scavenger hunt to find a red ball hidden anywhere around this field/forest thing. Since the objects don't really look with urgency, I bet Alex could, at minimum, run around and find a red ball extremely fast. The only difficult part is distinguishing which ball is red and which one is maroon. The announcer never tells the contestants that there could be a maroon ball, so unless Alex has excellent telepathy, they might pick up a maroon ball by accident. I'm also convinced that there is only one maroon ball, and they just kept accidentally passing it around to each other, so it might not matter in the long run. Alex also can't just show the announcer the same red ball someone turned in earlier, since apparently they disappear after being turned in. Regardless, this is another challenge that is extremely easy, as long as they don't get the maroon ball. BFDI 14. There are 3 contests within this episode. The bread loaf challenge, the one where you jump into a vat of acid, and the race on the treadmill with the obstacles. Since the treadmill one is the only one where the competing contestants actually compete in it, I'll say that is the only challenge in the 14th episode. The challenge is on a treadmill and the contestants have to jump over hurdles. Occasionally, the hurdles will get more difficult as the challenge goes on. The first hurdle that the contestants have to jump over looks to be around 2 or 2.5 feet tall. I can't get a good read on the height since it is at a weird skewed angle. Though, at the speed it's going and with how high it is, Alex might have trouble jumping over it, but I feel like it's barely doable. The next hurdle looks to be around 4 feet in height. It's easier to tell because of the side angle. However, this doesn't look possible. Alex has to vault over an obstacle nearly their height while it moves at a ridiculous speed. Even if Alex made it over, they would have to jump over another obstacle their height and somehow not get hit by the piston. This challenge is impossible for the average human. 12 out of 14 challenges are doable. BFDI 15. In the 15th episode, the contestants actually get to choose the contest they participate in. The barf bag contest has each contestant floating in a large barf bag. The one who can stay on their platform the longest wins. The taco contest is just a taco cooking contest. The one with the best taco wins. The barf bag contest ends with everyone either drowning, I guess, or with them falling down an extremely long distance, which both seem like instant death to me. The taco contest is the safest bet. Not everyone knows how to make a taco, but I bet most people know what it looks like at minimum, and they can just look at the other contestants' ideas of a taco to help them. As long as they can make something that tastes good and not use cyanide or boogers, Alex has a pretty good chance at winning this. Even if Alex doesn't know how to make a taco, they could buy it off of Leafy. But it does cost $200 vigintillion. This challenge is fairly easy, as long as you make something good and edible. BFDI 16. The 16th challenge is a bowling contest. Whoever can knock down the most pins wins. Bowling is a rather niche sport, so not many people know how to do it. One thing humans can do is throw. As long as Alex can chuck it at the pins and knock over at least 5 in the process, they'll succeed. BFDI 17. The 17th challenge is a frisbee throwing contest. Alex is ahead already as they actually have arms and don't have to throw the frisbee with their legs. Even if Alex doesn't know how to throw a frisbee, it's a very easy sport to pick up as all you do is throw it with a flick of your wrist. They could just ask someone like Leafy for advice if they didn't know how. But let's assume Alex gets teamed up with some frisbee pro, so it can be Alex's fault if they were to lose. I feel like Alex could win this challenge even if they don't know what a frisbee was nor how to throw it. I feel like you could learn super fast. BFDI 18. In this episode, the other human counterpart joins the show, David.
Oh, seriously?
If you could even call him a human. He's got the limbs and stuff, but he's like half object, half human. Anyways, the 18th contest is a staring contest. Whoever blinks first loses. As long as Alex can make it past the first round, I'll count it as a technical win, since they do beat 50% of the competition. As long as Alex can keep their eyes open for more than 15 seconds, they would win. I assume they can also use their hands to keep their eyes open. so they could do that if they can't keep them open for 15 seconds naturally. BFDI 19. The 19th contest is a unicycle contest. I'm not even going to entertain this one, it's completely impossible. It not only takes forever to get the hang of a unicycle, doing all these tricks as a beginner is impossible. The average human cannot do a unicycle obstacle course, so 16 out of 19 challenges are doable so far. BFDI 20. The next challenge is in space. This challenge is impossible. 16 out of 20. BFDI 21. The 21st challenge is a long jump. This should be doable, but a bit difficult as Bubble only jumped around 5 or 7 feet. As long as Alex manages to get a running start and jump 7 or more feet, they could win this challenge, albeit with a little struggle. BFDI 22. The 22nd challenge starts with all the contestants falling probably around 100 feet into a volcano, thankfully landing on Spongy. However, by the time Alex catches their bearings, they're already dead. A human cannot stand the heat, toxic gases, or the dangers of being around a volcano, much less in one. This challenge is impossible. 17 out of 22. BFDI 23. This contest is going to be a long one since it is every contest from the previous challenges combined into one. I know it's probably not possible since only 17 out of the 22 are, but let's see if this one is, since it is shortened down. Maybe they cut out the deadly stuff, but who knows. This challenge won't take into account the other contestants like Flower, Fiery, Bubble, and Leafy. The first challenge is to cross the balance beam, which Alex did in BFDI 6. The second challenge is to choose a boat. As long as Alex chooses something, they'll beat this one. Though it would be best if they went for the motorboat. The second challenge has contestants climbing a rock wall. Since the rock wall is only 15 feet, Alex could easily climb it, then back down. But they had to bring back the boxing gloves. However, the challenge is so vague, they could just climb up a single rock on the rock wall, jump down, and then walk around it without issue. They technically climbed it. The sign didn't say they had to climb it all the way. The third challenge is a test. The test seems to be the exact same one from the actual fourth challenge, so as long as Alex got the answers, they should be fine. The fourth challenge has contestants bake a cake, or rather, place a cake on the podium. Since Queenie made a dirt cake and Alex was there to see it, they could probably do what Flower did and use dirt. The fifth challenge is crossing a bridge. The sixth challenge has Alex jump over 3 islands. If anything, they could just walk between them without issue. The seventh challenge is putting together the 3x3 puzzle incredibly easy. The eighth challenge is to run to the tree, which Alex should already be running, so all they have to do is reach it. The ninth challenge is to do the 3-legged race. No clue how Flower could do this by herself, but let's assume a hand could count as a leg. All Alex has to do is hold their ankle and walk to the next challenge. The 10th challenge has Alex crying in no discernible amount, skiing across a small patch of snow and doing a handstand. Alex could do the same strategy of rubbing their eyes or holding them open, using the skis as shoes and walking across the snow, and attempting to do a handstand. As long as Alex can hold a handstand for a fraction of a millisecond, I'll assume it counts. The 11th challenge is to fly across with a balloon. Last time I checked, humans can't fly with a single party balloon, so Alex will just have to hold it and maybe jump across the next challenge line. The 12th and 13th contest is to climb a ladder, then grab a red ball at the top. Alex can tell the difference better since they are side to side. The 14th contest is to grab loaves of bread and put it into a basket, and jump 2 1-foot hurdles, a fairly easy task. The 15th contest is to stand on a platform surrounded by vomit and make a taco. It didn't have to be a good taco, it could probably be a single ingredient since a pile of dirt counts as a cake. The 16th challenge is to knock over 10 pins, which it didn't say Alex had to use the bowling ball, they could just kick down the pins. The 17th challenge has Alex catching 3 frisbees, which is difficult at the speed they were thrown, but it never said back to back. As long as Alex caught 3, they are safe. The 18th challenge is to not blink, very easy. The 19th challenge is to ride a unicycle. The sign never said for how far, so Alex could sit on it and it fall down and that could count. The 20th challenge is to get into a spaceship and avoid lasers. But if the spaceship really has that good of controls, Alex could potentially dodge the lasers, but it's very difficult. The 21st challenge is to do a long jump, which means Alex could just step on it. That is doing the long jump. The 22nd challenge has Alex climbing out of a fake volcano using a pole, with real lava below. Since it's a fake volcano and there are more air holes, let's assume the toxic gas doesn't kill them immediately. There is still the issue of the metal pole sitting in molten lava. The pole would be very hot to the touch, so I doubt Alex could climb the pole. So, unfortunately, at the final challenge of the last challenge, this is impossible. However, there is one last chance. The sign simply says, escape the volcano. Alex could easily exit the volcano from where they entered. It's not like there's anything stopping them. They never specified how you would escape it. Doing this, they would complete the final challenge of BFDI, meaning 17 out of the 23 challenges are doable. This means that the average human could not win BFDI, but they could win a majority of the challenges. Anyways, I really enjoyed making this video, and I hope you enjoyed watching it too. If you liked this video or want to see more videos like it, please subscribe and like the video. And you can comment down below any other video ideas, or if I got any of the challenges wrong and Alex could or couldn't complete them. I'd like to hear what you guys think. I've also made a public Discord server that you guys can join. It's pretty barren right now, but I plan to do some events and stuff like that with you cool people. The link will either be in the description below or in the comment section, so join it! I also want to say thank you for the crazy support on my last video. 71,000 views is a crazy number to see. I honestly never thought it would be that high, honestly. But I'm just amazed. I might do another video similar to this, but with BFDIA or Inanimate Insanity. Maybe if you guys like this video enough, but who knows. See ya.